stands out to me. And the other one, I think, is LSU and Alabama. You know the rat poison? You just assume that Alabama just, well, they're going to kill LSU. That makes you dangerous when LSU can approach a rivalry game with nothing to lose and just throw havoc into the wind.
Virginia Tech, Miami, the winner should win the Coastal Division.
Yes.
Virginia Tech will win this game on defense. They've always allowed 11 points a game. That's number 2 in the nation against Alabama. That's right. And Miami,
Good morning. Yep, that's right. It's me, Uncle Lou, live for you on YouTube today. Yep, thanks for watching. College Game Day just came on. They're in Stillwater today. Oklahoma State, the Bedlam game. Who did I pick in that game? I think I picked Oklahoma to win this one. And two good quarterbacks, Mayfield and Rudolph. They just said on here, I think right before I went live, that Baker Mayfield never lost a road game in the Big 12. So I'm feeling pretty good about my Oklahoma pick. I don't remember who's favored. I think Oklahoma State is actually favored here by just a couple of points. Also, the Virginia Tech-Miami game that I talked about the other day, and Virginia Tech was a 2.5-point favorite, that line has moved. So a lot of people are putting money on Miami in that game. Miami's now a favorite over Virginia Tech by about 1.5. I still think Virginia Tech wins that game, though. What's up, Owen, Paul? 7799. Bentley is a savage. Bentley's pretty good. Bentley is probably going to be the second best quarterback we've played so far this year. Just if I'm being real. Drew Lock's probably the best quarterback we've played. Yeah, Missouri's terrible. But you have to admit Drew Lock's a hell of a quarterback. Jake Bentley's probably the second best quarterback we've played this year. Or second best passing quarterback, which is, you know, the main thing you want a quarterback to do. The Wimbush for Notre Dame's a good runner. He's probably the best running quarterback we've played. Bentley probably the second best passer that we've played this year. What's up, Dark Hero? Hopefully, even if Carolina loses, it's a close game. Georgia's only had one close game this year, and that was against Notre Dame. I don't expect this game to be close, but you know, of course, anything can happen. Grant Babbitt, dogs on top all the way. Yes, sir. JJ says Notre Dame. Ed Jones, why does Feinbaum love Alabama so much? Ed Jones, Feinbaum does love Alabama. There's no denying that. He actually went to Tennessee, though, so he's a Tennessee graduate, loves Alabama. He got his start in Alabama after he graduated. He's been covering football in Alabama for 40 years. Way before Feinbaum was ever on ESPN, or way before the SEC network was ever even invented. I mean, for years and years and years, Feinbaum had a call-in radio show in the state of Alabama. Started off as a local thing in Birmingham, I believe, and then it went statewide, and it eventually went regional. And then I believe it was eventually picked up by Sirius Satellite Radio and became a national show out of Alabama, where he mainly focused, especially in the beginning, on Alabama and Auburn and the SEC in general. And then between, I would say, 2010 and 2013, when Alabama and Auburn won, 3 titles in a row, right? Alabama won one, then Auburn won one, then Alabama won another one or something like that. His popularity really took off. That's when ESPN started calling him and having him come on to talk about Alabama and Auburn. That was sort of the national rise to fame for Paul Feinbaum was back when Auburn won that one title in 2010, played for another one in 2013, and Alabama was winning them in between. He really blew up during that time. And then, of course, in 2014, when they launched the SEC network, they gave Paul his afternoon show on there, and the rest is history. But he is a big Alabama homer. He doesn't even really try to hide it or deny it. Do I remember App State beating Michigan in 2007? Yeah, I remember that. And I talked a lot about that all off season and the week leading up to this year's Appalachian State game. That was the last Power 5 team Appalachian State beat before this year. The Dogs just need to use all the disrespect to play with a chip. Go Dogs. Yeah, a couple of the South Carolina players did run their mouth a little bit about Jake Fromm. Listen, look, I hope Georgia uses that as bulletin board material too. Anything you can use to get a psychological edge or to get your team some motivation or whatever, I'm all in favor of that. But as Georgia fans, we have to realize when you look at our team this year, other teams are going to say the same thing about us that we would probably say about Alabama. In other words, teams are going to look at Georgia and say, how are you going to beat Georgia? Well, the answer is easy. Now, doing it is not easy, but the answer is easy. The way you beat Georgia is you stop their run, and you make Jake Fromm have to pass the ball because he just hasn't passed that much. So we all like Jake Fromm. We all think Jake Fromm is good. We all trust Jake Fromm to throw the ball. But you have to understand, these other teams and these other fans, they don't care what we think Jake Fromm can do. All they know is what they've seen, and that is Jake Fromm throw the ball 7, 8, 9 times a game. So of course, other fans, other teams, other players, other coaches, that's what they're gonna say if they're asked. We don't think Jake Fromm could be. That's what they're gonna say. It's the same thing we're gonna say about Alabama or even Auburn. You have to stop their running game and make their quarterback beat you. I mean that's so I get that it's disrespectful or whatever, or people are taking it as disrespectful, but I don't really know what else you would expect an opposing player, coach, or fan to say at this point about UGA. A defense's goal going into a game is always to take away whatever a team does best, and for UGA, that's run the ball. So it's sort of the obvious answer there. They're going to say that. Boot Gang, Coach Tennessee. I guess you want to know who the coach is going to be at Tennessee. I don't think it's going to be any of the big names that Tennessee fans are talking about. I think Tennessee fans are setting themselves up for a big disappointment when they get a new coach. I don't think they're getting Chip Kelly. I don't think they're getting John Gruden. I don't think they're getting Dan Mullen. I don't think they're getting Les Miles. I don't think they're getting Scott Frost. Maybe Scott Frost. They're not getting one of those huge big-name coaches that you hear them keep talking about. They're most likely going to end up with another Butch Jones-type coach. A coach that has been successful or semi-successful in a lower division of football. They're not getting one of these big-name people. And that's going to make for an interesting situation for whoever that new coach is, because you've got all these fans clamoring for John Gruden and Chip Kelly and these big names. So when they announce some nobody that you've never heard of or some middle-of-the-road coach, which is what I expect to happen, it's going to be hard for the fans to then act excited about that coach when they've been beating their chest about John Gruden and Chip Kelly for 6 months. So what's going to happen? The new coach is going to come in. Let's say whoever the new coach is, let's say they lose to Florida next year. That's always Tennessee's first tough game. They lose to Florida. I mean, that could be it for the new coach, right there. I mean, they're so tired of losing at Tennessee. They don't have much room for error there for a new coach. So I have a feeling the new coach, whoever it is, I have a feeling it's not going to work out well for Tennessee. Sean's Life Adventures. Will Muschamp is a UGA agent. Yeah, Will Muschamp has been working for UGA since 1991. That's no secret. He worked for us as a player for a few years, and ever since then, we've been sending him around from school to school to help destroy these programs from the inside out. Of course, most famously, we sent him to Florida, where he completely destroyed that program. Now, we tried to save Muschamp's job at Florida. We really did. We worked out a deal with Muschamp. We let Muschamp beat us his last year at Florida, hoping that would save his job there. Unfortunately, it didn't. Of course, we beat him. We beat him his first 2 years there. His last year there, we went ahead and let him. Or he was only there 2 years, wasn't he? Whatever it was, we let him win his last year there. No, I think he was there 3 years. Anyway, that's neither here nor there for purposes of this conversation. Yeah, he was there 3 years. So we let him beat us to his last year there, hoping that Florida would keep him around, but it didn't work. They got rid of him. sent him over to Auburn for a defensive coordinator gig for 1 year, where he went ahead and let us beat him again at Auburn. And, of course, the latest thing, we've sent him to South Carolina. Now, South Carolina didn't need Will Muschamp's help in order to lose to UGA. South Carolina does a great job of that on their own. They have been doing a great job of that for decades, losing without UGA's help or Will Muschamp's help. But the gig was sort of up. Teams were starting to catch on. Okay, Will Muschamp just coming here so he can make his team purposely lose to UGA. So there wasn't a lot of options. Fortunately for us, like 12 people turned down the South Carolina job after Steve Spurrier left. So there was really no other options. It was either Will Muschamp or promote some audio-visual guy from the support staff at South Carolina to head coach. So they went with Will Muschamp. So, you know, they'll be in the gutter here for a few years.
Well, it's a really tough position. It's an awesome position.
Why was Les Miles fired? That's a very complicated situation and story there.
Because it wears you down. It's a really tough position. And I don't think
Do you think Missouri will beat Florida? I have a feeling Florida wins this game. Now, it wouldn't shock me. This is a hard game to pick, and I talked about that in the video. It wouldn't shock me at all if the score was 38-10 Missouri. That wouldn't shock me at all. But for some reason, I just have a feeling that Florida's going to come out and play a decent game. I think it's good that it's not in Florida. I think it's good it's on the road. Get the team out of Gainesville. It's toxic around there right now. I just have a feeling that Florida finds a way to win this game. I could be wrong, and I wouldn't be shocked if I was wrong. But I did pick Florida to win that game today. Bama is killing LSU today, to be honest, says Hot Cosby. I tend to agree. I think Alabama wins that game big. Jay Ortiz, why does Lyle still have his job? Seriously tired of seeing that turd on TV. I can't figure it out either. It makes no sense to me to keep him. Everyone knows or assumes he's getting fired at some point. It's gotten to the point now where Tennessee is losing recruits. They've had a couple of guys that were committed to Tennessee that have changed their mind and left. One left and went to Vandy. That tells you how bad things are getting. I can't figure it out. I don't understand. It makes no sense to me to keep him there. And then I expect Tennessee to beat Southern Miss today. So if you didn't fire Butch Jones after getting shut out by Georgia, blown out by Alabama, not scoring an offensive touchdown and a loss to South Carolina, and then losing for the second time in 30 years to Kentucky, then how are you going to fire Butch Jones after you beat Southern Miss? So I think it's going to be another week goes by where Butch Jones still has a job at Tennessee. I picked Tennessee to win today. It's a Florida-Mizzou situation. It wouldn't surprise me at all if Tennessee lost, but I picked them to win. If Tennessee wins today, they can't fire Butch Jones next week, can they? I mean, if you didn't fire him after all those embarrassing losses, how are you going to fire him after a win? So it looks like they're probably going to be stuck with him, I would guess, now to the end of the year.
To me, Scott Frost, man. Scott Frost has got an edge to him. And what he's done as a head coach.
Do you like NFL football? If so, what team do you support? I watch the NFL. I'm more of a fan of the players than I am of any one team. I mean, I'm sort of a Falcons fan. I'm from Georgia. I've lived here forever. They're the home team, so I'm sort of a Falcons fan, I guess. I sort of make a joke of my NFL fanhood here on YouTube, but if you want to know the truth, I am sort of a Falcons fan. I'm just not. I don't get emotionally invested in the NFL like I do college. I used to make a few NFL videos on here from time to time. But they just weren't the same to me. I didn't enjoy doing them as much as I enjoy doing the college videos. And I think it's because I just don't have the attachment and emotional investment in the NFL that I do in the Georgia Bulldogs. And I think the videos sort of came across that way. You know, people ask me for advice all the time about YouTube. Maybe they want to start a channel or something. And I'm by no means an expert. And there's plenty of people who are way better and have been doing YouTube longer than I have or whatever. But the one thing I would tell somebody, if you're going to do a YouTube channel, do it about something that you are passionate about, that you 100% are invested in. Because if not, it comes across on video. You can tell when people are faking something or whatever, or So if you're gonna, my advice is always the same. Just do something that you know about. Don't make a YouTube channel about something you don't know anything about. Video game channels are real popular on YouTube. Don't start a video game channel just because you want to get a bunch of subscribers and views, but you don't really care about video games. It won't work, I promise. You got to do something that you care about. I got a feeling we get upset today. If you're a Georgia fan, then that's not an accurate feeling. Somebody wants me to shut up and cook them some eggs. I actually didn't cook breakfast this morning. I just made Lou Jr. some cereal before I started this video. That was it. What game is it? Other than a lot of you are Georgia fans, I know, but there's fans of all different kinds of teams in here. Other than your team's game today, y'all tell me, what's the game that you're looking forward to the most today that doesn't involve your own team? For me, I'm probably, I'll probably watch the LSU-Alabama game since it comes on tonight. I'm curious to see about how Virginia Tech-Miami goes. I'm curious to see if any of the Big Ten teams lose, Ohio State or Penn State, if any of them have a letdown after yesterday's game. Clemson, NC State, yeah, that's a good one. Somebody said Oklahoma State, another good one. A lot of games today with playoff implications. Virginia Tech, Miami, Oklahoma. The loser of Oklahoma State is out of the playoff race, no doubt about it. Is there anybody that thinks Auburn loses today to Texas A&M? I don't see it. I've seen a few people predicting an upset on that game on Facebook and Twitter and places like that. I don't see it. I think Texas A&M's just too inconsistent. Freshman quarterback Kellen Mond, whatever his name is, I think he's going to have a rough day against the Auburn defense. Some people are picking that as an upset special, but it's Auburn. Herschel Walker jersey giveaway? No. No. Well, a couple of y'all think Auburn could lose, huh? I'll probably keep an eye on that one too. So, we play Auburn next week, so I might watch a little bit of that one, or at least keep my eye on it. A lot of the good games today are at 3:30, and of course that's when the Georgia game comes on, so I'll be watching that one. My TV does have picture-in-picture. Sometimes I'll use that if there's another game I really want to keep up with, and I'll put it in the corner on the picture-in-picture. And then I also have, I have Dish Network for my TV provider or whatever, and they have an app where you can watch live TV on your phone or your iPad or whatever. So I'll usually have one game going live on my phone or iPad or whatever, and then one game on the TV, and then maybe a third game in the picture-in-picture. But you should do a Georgia giveaway. I do Georgia giveaways all the time. I just did one a few weeks ago. I gave away a Nick Chubb jersey. Tennessee trash can giveaway. I'm willing to give the Tennessee trash can away, but I'm not shipping it. So someone's going to have to come here and pick it up. I'm not paying $40 or $50 to ship that trash can. But if somebody is interested in winning a one-of-a-kind, or maybe it's two-of-a-kind, I don't know, because Tennessee does have one. But maybe we'll give away the Tennessee. Maybe we'll give away the Tennessee trash can. I don't know, but yeah, you would have to come pick it up. I'm not shipping that. Uncle Lou, are you scared yet of South Carolina? You should be. Sam Racine, no, I'm not scared of South Carolina. Will Muschamp, proven loser. Masapa Daddy works for UGA. If this game was in Columbia, I might be a little bit nervous, but I'm not. It's in Athens. Look, when the public address announcer comes on at 3 o'clock today and introduces Georgia as the #1 ranked team in the nation, and that crowd goes wild, that's going to be all the energy and motivation this team needs. I look for Georgia to get up by a couple of scores early in this game and then slow it down, play good defense through halftime. We'll jack the score up in the third quarter, and it wouldn't surprise me at all if we see the scrubs in the fourth quarter again in this game. I just don't think South Carolina's got the talent to keep up today. Somebody said something about the soccer video. Yeah, that one was pretty popular. I don't know if I've mentioned this or not, but something pissed me off about that video. And this happens from time to time, too. some Spanish or Mexican or something Facebook page. Not like an individual, but some page, and I don't speak Mexican, so I couldn't even tell you what the name of the page was. But anyway, they found that video somehow, and they posted it on their Facebook page. But instead of just posting a link to my YouTube channel, they downloaded my video off of YouTube and just posted my video directly to their Facebook page, which sucks for me, because then I don't get credit for any of those views or anything. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. But they posted my video directly to their Facebook page, and the last time I checked, that thing had almost 2 million views. 2 million! I think that's probably more views than every video I've ever made combined. I sure would have liked to have had those views here on YouTube, but these Mexican people stole my video and posted it on this Mexican Facebook page, and they even had subtitles and everything. It was me speaking in English, but then it had Mexican subtitles under it, so the Mexican type speakers could read what I was saying and whatnot. And then they titled the video. What they title it? Gringo Incognito. I thought about making a new YouTube character called Gringo Incognito, where I just got on video and screamed about tacos and burritos and border walls and stuff like that. Because that's kind of a cool name, Gringo Incognito. But it really made me mad. 2 million views that thing has, and I didn't get credit for any of it because these Mexicans stole it. And just posted it up on their Facebook page, and it irritated me. But that was a good video though. Let's see. Joe says, I'm a Michigan fan. What do you think about Harbaugh, sir? Are you happy paying $9 million to a guy that can't win his division or beat his rivals or field any type of offense at all? And who has spend the night parties with 17-year-old kids? Let me know. Boghead says, I'm a Vol fan and love your stuff. Thank you, sir. Don't take any of it personally. It sounds like you don't. These videos are for entertainment and meant to make you laugh. If you can't laugh at yourself, then you're living life wrong. If anything I say about a football team upsets you to the point where you're telling me to get cancer and die, then that says a lot more about you than it does about me. What's up, Sports Focus? Somebody just asked me if I'm American. Yes, I'm American. Is this the year a college team goes 15-0? Yes.
Naturally delicious snacks. Start with ingredients that come from nature.
Why is the mainstream media hating on UGA? The mainstream media is not hating on UGA. I talk about this from time to time. Every fan base in America thinks the media hates their game. Every fan base in America thinks three things. The media hates their team. The announcers that are announcing their game hates their team. And the referees that are refereeing the game hates their team. Every fan base thinks those three things are true. None of those three things are true. 2 weeks ago, UGA fans wanted to string Herb Street up from a street light and let him swing. I forget what it was he said about UGA. Well, yesterday, all over the Georgia groups on Facebook, people are posting this article from Kirk Herbstreit where he refers to UGA as a juggernaut and that they might be unbeatable. And now, all of a sudden, these same people who wouldn't have pissed on Kirk Herbstreit if he was on fire last week, now they think he's the greatest sports analyst of all time. And that's a perfect example of what I mean by every fan base thinks the media hate their team. The media has a job to do. Georgia fans have turned their back on David Pollock because he picked against UGA a couple of times in big games. UGA, or David Pollock, did not get hired by ESPN to drool about the Georgia Bulldogs 24 hours a day. That's not why they hired him. They didn't hire David Pollock because he went to UGA. It's not his job to go on to ESPN and worship at the foot of the Georgia Bulldogs football program. These media people have jobs to do. Sometimes they say things because they really mean it. Sometimes they say things because they know it'll get a lot of clicks or a lot of hits or whatever. Danny Cannell and Colin Cowherd are two examples of that. Danny Cannell and Colin Cowherd don't believe half the crap they say. They don't even believe it themselves. But they know what to say to set a bunch of people off, and that's what they say. 4 years ago, when Colin Cowherd was still with ESPN, he said that Nick Saban would never win a game against Gus Malzahn. He said Gus Malzahn would own Alabama and Nick Saban, and Gus Malzahn would be the reason Nick Saban left Alabama in the SEC. Well, since then, Alabama has not lost a game to Auburn, has continued to roll on, but if that's whether that's something Colin actually believed or whether that's something he just said because he knew the response it would get, I'm not sure. But you have to understand, these people do not hate your team. The referees do not hate your team. The announcers do not hate your team. Every fan base thinks all those people hate their team, and it's just not true. FSU is trash. I couldn't agree more, John Bryant. And they're not just trash because they lost their quarterback. I don't buy that. They're just not a good team. You don't go from being... Don't tell me they're a top 3 team if they had that quarterback. No, they're not. You don't go from being a top 3 team to not being able to make a bowl game just because you lose one player, whether it's your quarterback or not. It's called recruiting. It's called depth. Florida State's had great recruiting classes under Jimbo Fisher. It's not anyone's fault but their own that they're 2-5 or 2-6, whatever they are. Browns fan says Georgia is a joke. You do realize you're a Browns fan, right? And you're saying Georgia is a joke. Georgia and the Browns have opposite records, do they not? Georgia's 8-0. Aren't the Browns 0-8 or 0-7? Not sure if potato or actual retard on that, Browns fan. South Carolina's beating UGA. Deal with it. Sorry for your disappointment, Johnny, but that's just simply not true. Try watching some football, sir. You obviously haven't watched any football at all this year. If Florida gets Scott Frost, we're going to be unbeatable. Okay. No, you're not. Alabama's average. I couldn't agree more. They're very average. The quarterback is below average. Browns will be good next year. Okay, yeah. That comment is copy and pasted from every single year since 1962. UJ secondary is garbage. If UJ secondary is garbage, then why are we top 5 in America in pass defense? Again, Johnny, try watching some football. Sam Racine is a troll, says Jake Fromm is injured. Listen. Jake Fromm could sleep through the game. It wouldn't matter. I mean, whoever we put in is going to be able to hand the ball off. So that wouldn't even matter. But that's not really a good troll. UJ 2007 versus Ohio State 2002. That would be a good game. All the potatoes are coming out now. Yeah, it looks that way. Will Jake Fromm have a huge day? I've seen some people saying that Kirby Smart's going to let him air it out today. I'm not so sure. I've been saying for 6 weeks they're about to let Jake Fromm start airing it out. They're about to letting Jake Fromm air it out. And other than the Missouri game, we haven't seen it. So if it happens, it happens. But it's not something I'm counting on or whatever. Nick Chubb got his hand stuck in his garage. Oh my God! Listen, if you're gonna troll and your comment is more than 4 lines long, I'm not even gonna read it. I just don't have time. I'm way too busy, much too important to read 4 lines of a troll comment. If you're gonna troll, keep it to 1 or 2 lines. Don't make me put you in timeout. You know I will. Good morning, Tomahawk. Drew Lock is the best in the SEC. I agree. He's probably the best passing quarterback in the SEC. Nick Chubb or Saquon Barkley, 2 totally different players. Nick Chubb is a better pure running back. Saquon Barkley is more, he can do more things than Chubb. He's a much better pass catcher than Chubb, and he can return kicks. So I think Saquon Barkley is probably the best football player in college football this year. Not the best running back, but the best football player. Mark Richt recruits looking good in Athens. Yeah, too bad he couldn't win with them. South Carolina winning the East. See, all right, everyone that keeps saying no South Carolina fan is saying that South Carolina will win the East. There he is. There's one right there. Johnny says South Carolina's winning the East, that they're going to win out and UGA's going to lose 2 games. That's so there it is. Will Bentley do anything today? I think Bentley will do. Look, I think Bentley's going to have an interception or 2 today just because he's that type of quarterback. He's a Brett Favre type of quarterback. I'm not comparing him to Brett Favre. I'm not saying he's as good as Brett Favre or anything like that, but he has the same style as Brett Favre. He's a gunslinger. He makes some throws that he probably shouldn't make. Sometimes it's successful, sometimes it's not. I think he'll pay a price for that today. Bentley will not throw for 400 yards. He's lucky to get half of that, sir. What? Gee, who does meth at 9 in the morning? What are you doing, sir? Where does Nick Chubb go in the draft? It's hard to say right now. I gotta wait until I see the draft order and what teams are drafting where. I'm not convinced Nick Chubb will be a first-round pick. Some Georgia fans are. I'm not convinced Nick Chubb will be a first-round pick. I actually think Sony Michel will get drafted ahead of Nick Chubb. Gamecocks aren't beating Clemson. Yeah, you can write that. That's a guarantee. You can write that down. App State is better than half the SEC East. That's simply not true. App State has 1 win over a Power 5 team in the last 9 years. Just stop. Do you think Big Trent will leave early? Yes. Florida will definitely be on top of the East next year. No, they won't. They don't have any offensive talent. None. It's not. I mean, if
I'd be shocked if they showed up flat. I think they go in there and take care of business personally.
Alabama have been good for many years. Okay. UJ beats Florida the next 5 years. Is Georgia considered elite in your opinion? Yeah, unless you're telling me there are no elite teams this year. Yeah, they're elite this year. I don't see how anyone could argue that they're not. They're undefeated and ranked #1 in America. So are you, either no one's elite or UGA's elite. Hey Spence, what's up, buddy? Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Trump is a USC Junior fan. I'm not even getting into that, but Donald Trump did make Herschel Walker the first $1 million football player on planet Earth. So Leonard Floyd is the most underrated SEC player ever. I don't think Leonard Floyd was underrated at all. I mean, he was drafted top 10 in the NFL. He was a beast every single year at Georgia. Leonard Floyd is probably the best football player. Either Leonard Floyd or Todd Gurley are the best pure football players UJ has had in probably 20 years. Bama is average. I tend to agree with that. Did you vote for Trump or Hillary? Neither. Would you take Walker or Sanders? What, Deion Sanders? He's not a running back. I don't know who. Or Barry, you talking about Barry Sanders? I would take Herschel Walker. And if we're talking college, I would take Herschel Walker over any player ever in history. Herschel Walker is the best college football player of all time. Sumlin canned after this weekend. I'm not sure. They may let him ride the season out. But if what I think is going to happen happens and they stumble all the way through the last month of the season like they normally do, I do think he'll be fired. Could UJ beat Alabama? Yes. Yes, Uncle Lou's a libertarian. I don't like to talk politics on here. I do that on Facebook sometimes, but somehow, for some reason, when I talk politics, I manage to piss off people on both sides of the fence. So I've been trying to avoid that on here. Yeah, I saw that on Facebook, Tomahawk, about Zeus. He's unbelievable.
New TGI Fridays Big Ribs. Bigger, bolder, meatier. Just $12.99.
Matt Stafford or Aaron Murray? College quarterback, I would take Aaron Murray. If I'm starting a pro team, I take Matt Stafford. I mean, that's an obvious answer, but that's the correct answer.
most shocking result was that I'm 26%
Zeus reminds me of Gurley. Yeah, now I don't get as excited about high school kids as some other people do who follow recruiting all the time. Now, there are some people that I really trust about recruiting, and they tell me that Zeus is as close to a sure bet as they've ever seen coming out of high school. I still have to see it before I mean, I'm not knocking. Look, I love Zeus. He's. I couldn't be happier that we're getting Zamir White. Okay, but all these Herschel Walker and Todd Gurley comparisons, until I see Zeus do something in a Georgia uniform, I'm not comparing him to Herschel Walker or Zeus or Todd Gurley. That's just not doing that.
This guy's upping his game by listening to an audiobook on Audible.
Miami better than UGA. Miami is elite. That's what Thomas Valls said. See, this is what happens to Tennessee fans every November. They have no point in even talking about their own team, so they just do meaningless and point. Mrs. Lou, what's up? Huh?
Never mind.
Mrs. Lou out here bothering me. Yeah. Unless she's gone now. So, Dogs 45, Cox 7. Not sure if it'll be that big of a win, but wouldn't shock me. I'd say maybe 45 to 17, 45 to 14, somewhere in there. Yeah, my fortress of solitude was breached.
He could have his fantasy world and his family on the side.
What happened to Falcons for Life? I don't know. I'd really like to know because he owes me money. So if anyone knows, tell him Uncle Lou's still waiting on that money. Me and him had a bet a couple of years ago where the loser had to buy the winner a ticket to a game. If he won, I had to buy him a ticket to a Falcons game. If I won, he had to buy me a ticket to a Georgia game. Well, when the bet was over, I actually did the guy a favor. I was like, look, tickets to the UGA game is going to cost you, depending on the game, $100, $200, something like that. I said, just send me $50, we'll call it even. He said, okay. I never heard from the guy again. He stopped. He used to make YouTube videos. He stopped making videos. He disappeared. So, it is what it is. I'm not, $50 is $50. I'm just not going to, not too worried about it, but it's just it's the principle. There's also Barners that have not paid up on bets with Uncle Lou. That's over on Facebook, though. I had some bets with some Barners Barners actually thought they were beating Clemson. And I found a couple that were willing to bet with me on it. And, of course, I took Clemson. And Clemson. When I even gave them the points, I gave them seven points, yeah. And Clemson ended up winning by, 8 or whatever, so I won the bets. None of the Barners I had a bet with paid up. Not a single one. Now, I had a bet on the App State game with an Alabama fan. Yeah, the App State game. I forget what the spread was, but we played the points. I said they'll cover. Georgia covered. He paid the next day. He PayPal'd me the money the next day. I had a bet on the Georgia-Florida game this past weekend with a Florida fan. He has not paid me yet, but I've been in touch with him, and he has plans to pay me. So I'll to be determined on that. But Barners definitely do not pay their bets. If you watch Game of Thrones, the Barners are not Lannisters. Lannisters always pay their debts. Barners, they don't pay up. They tuck tail and run. Do I watch the NHL or NBA? Only the playoffs. Hockey playoffs. Listen, people, you can knock hockey if you want to. Hockey playoffs are exciting. I'm sorry, I love hockey. I love the NHL playoffs. I like NHL playoffs better than NBA, but I will watch the NBA playoffs too. Fort Gordon is why you can afford to be a libertarian. Okay. Syracuse over FSU. I don't see that. I mean, Florida State's terrible, but I think that game's at Florida State. I think they find a way to win. Look at your TV, Uncle Lou. Laura Rutledge is naked. Laura Rutledge. You know what's funny? The people that call into the Paul Feinbaum show to talk to Laura Rutledge, and they compliment her on how football knowledgeable she is, and which she is. But it's so obvious that they're only saying that to her because they think she's attractive. Scarborough or Chubb? Oh, Chubb, definitely. Scarborough's not. Scarborough's been a disappointment at Alabama. I think even Alabama fans will tell you that. Has he ever started, Bo Scarborough? I don't think he's ever been their #1 running back the entire time he's been at Alabama. And he's not their #1 running back this year. He's their 3rd best running back this year behind Damian Harris and Jalen Hurts. Alabama has a running back playing quarterback, but that's their problem. AC Burstwin just says Roquan Smith is coming back for his senior year. I would be almost as shocked. If that happened, I would be almost as shocked as I was when I found out Chubb and Michelle were coming back. Because there is no personal upside to Roquan Smith coming back next year. None. He'll be a top 10 pick, I'm willing to bet, if he goes out this year. He's been the best defensive player in the SEC this year, in my opinion, and it's not close. I don't understand why he would come back. Miami or Virginia Tech? Parker, I picked Virginia Tech in that game. Richard Corbett says corn dogs by 10. That would be hilarious if that happened. I don't see it happening. I picked Bama big in that game, but that would be hilarious if the corn dogs beat Alabama. UGA is trash. Hold on, I gotta scroll back and read this guy. John Bryant. UGA is trash. You have been relevant for 3 months and you think you something. And I can't tell who he's a fan of. Are you a tater? Was that a Clemson thing? Are you a tater? UJ's been relevant for 3 months. Well, Clemson's been relevant for 1 game, and that was against Alabama last year when you had the best player that you've ever had, Tater. Without Deshaun Watson, you were a 500 team last year at best. Look at you this year. Not the same team. You lost Deshaun Watson, now you lose to Syracuse. You're not that good. Wouldn't surprise me at all today if you lost to NC State. But whatever makes you feel better. Yeah, John Kelly's definitely not the best running back in the SEC. He's not even top 5. Who wins Bedlam? Does it matter? Yeah, it matters. The loser's eliminated from the playoff. If Oklahoma or whoever wins, I think, has a chance to make it, I think Oklahoma wins. Thoughts on Jake Bentley? I think he's the 2nd best quarterback in the SEC, and probably the best player that South Carolina has since Deebo Samuel's injured, but it's not enough to beat UJ or even keep it close. He'll have some moments today. He'll take some shots, and he might even hit some of them. I think he'll have a couple of interceptions today too, though. And overall, I think he'll have a pretty long day. Bentley is a flopper. Yeah. Y'all can look that up after you're done watching this. I think there's a video where that's documented. Jake Bentley flopper. Look that up. He's like a soccer player. If somebody breathes on him, he falls over. Am I watching Mizzou beat Florida tonight? I'll keep an eye on it. When Georgia's on, that's all I watch primarily is the Georgia game. It'll stay on my TV from start to finish. When Georgia's not on, I tend to do a lot of flipping around, and I have picture-in-picture. Where I can split the screen in half, watch one game on half the TV, another game on the other half of the TV, and then I can watch a third game on my tablet or iPad or phone or whatever. So that's usually what I do. But when Georgia's on, I just watch the Georgia game. Am I going to do more NCAA football video game videos? Yes. Not during the season, though. I just don't have time with all the other things that are going on. But those are good videos to do during the off season. Do I think Memphis is the best Group of 5 team? No, I think Central Florida. Memphis is pretty good, but they have a loss, so it really doesn't matter whether anyone thinks they're better than. If Central Florida goes undefeated, which I think they will, Central Florida will be the team that makes one of the New Year's Six bowls, not Memphis, in my opinion. But Memphis is pretty good. John Bryant is still having diarrhea of the mouth. Now he's going on and on about something here. Can't even beat your rivals. Which one of our rivals can't we beat? We beat Florida, 42-7. Beat Tennessee 41-0. We beat Auburn 9 out of the last 11 years. what are we this century against South Carolina? What are we? 10-7, 10-6, something like that. At least that. And I mean, in the all-time series with South Carolina, they'd have to beat us 32 years in a row just to tie the series. Georgia Tech, we own them. Georgia Tech's beat us 3 times this century. So I don't know what rival it is that owns us that I'm leaving out here. You lost to Georgia Tech at home. You lost to Syracuse at Syracuse. Last year you lost to Pitt. 2 terrible teams.
They are really, really aggressive. They're really downhill. Josh Jackson, those jet sweeps, can they get them at a gap, make some big plays with the
Tennessee has won 2 out of 3 against Georgia. Yeah, Tennessee has won 2 out of 3 against Georgia. Georgia's won 6 out of 8. You know, Georgia. Listen, Tennessee has had more coaches in the last 10 years than they have wins against Georgia. So calm down with that. Yeah, the tree in Auburn. Yeah, soccer, I remember that. He killed the tree, yeah. Lou, why do haters waste their breath? They don't have anything else better to do, sir. That's why. But just think about where all these people that are in here hating, what are they all doing right now? What do they all have in common? All these people that hate Uncle Lou and hate on Georgia, what do they all have in common at this exact minute? They're watching Uncle Lou. Hey, Aiden, what's up, dude? Pay college players. They already get paid. Tuition, books, they get a stipend, free room and board, whatever they want to eat, they already get paid. When's the last time UJ has won a national title? 1980, sir. Garcia would beat Georgia. Steven Garcia? He's probably just now waking up in a gutter somewhere. Will Saban retire this year? No. What do I do in the off season? No, I still make videos every day in the off season. They're not always football related because there's just not enough news going on in the off season to do football videos every day. But I still make videos every day. I do a lot more live streams in the off season. I have the NCAA football games on the Xbox with the updated 2017 rosters. I live stream those. I do. I do a lot of stuff for signing day, leading up to signing day in February. A lot of stuff around the spring games in March and April. I mean, whatever. Anytime there's news or whatever, I'll do something on it. Football news. Kansas or Alabama? Well, Alabama. I mean, Alabama's average, but they're not that average. They'd handle Kansas no problem. Thank you, Clem Tiger. Who won the last Georgia-Clemson game? Georgia did. We've won 3 of the last 4 against Clemson. Did you see how butthurt Feinbaum was about? Yeah, he was mad. And then when the caller would try to call in and explain to him why Georgia was number 1 instead of Alabama, he would just get mad and hang up on him. How'd we get exposed against Mizzou? This is what happens when people don't watch the games. Missouri hit 2 70-yard passes. Okay, that's 140 yards passing. The entire rest of the game, they had 110 yards passing. So Georgia did not get exposed. They hit 2 miracle bombs. Listen, if South Carolina wants to hit 2 miracle bombs today, that's fine. If they want to lose 48-14 instead of 48-0, I have no problem with that. It won't bother me at all if South Carolina hits 2 60-yard bombs today and loses 48-14. That won't bother me one bit. UJ's biggest weakness right now, you would have to say either offensive line or passing attack. And don't start quoting me all Jake Fromm's high school passing numbers. I know all that. The bottom line is, until you see him do it consistently in a game, you have to list that as a weakness for UGA. You just have to. If something happens and a team completely shuts down our rushing attack, you can't tell. Well, maybe you can. If you're confident Fromm can win a big game against an elite defense, which we're going to find out eventually. But if you're listing the weaknesses, it's got to. What other weakness is there? There's no weaknesses on defense. There's no weaknesses at the running back position. I still think we don't have an elite number one wide receiver, but we've got a good group of 2 or 3 receivers that can get the job done when they need to. I don't think we have a true elite number one. Yeah, those are the type of comments I just don't understand. Let's see if I can find it. Fromm has been in the spotlight his whole life. Mike Roy says that. That's fine, but I don't see how him hitting a home run in the Little League World Series when he was 12 years old helps him throw a touchdown pass against Alabama. A lot of Georgia fans want to correlate those two things. I don't get it. I'm not saying he can't do it. But if he does, it's not going to be because he hit a home run in the Little League World Series.
Clemson beats North Carolina State 24-17, and it was tough on Kyle Bambar, the NC State kicker.
Where have you been in the last 5 years? I've been here. If you want to see me laugh at Clemson, I was on here when we beat the bejesus out of you and Deshaun Watson 4 years ago. If you want to know where I was at 4 years ago, type in Uncle Lou Clemson in the search bar and knock yourself out, and you can see me laughing at you while we chased Deshaun Watson around. The dude was running like a chicken with his head cut off. I think Deshaun Watson has CTE just from that Georgia game 4 years ago. The dude was running for his life. Nick Chubb scored his first ever touchdown of his career in that game with one shoe on. We beat you like you owed us money. We worked you like a part-time job. Listen, congratulations. You beat Alabama in the national championship game last year. No one cares. It's 2017. That game is over. You're not repeating as national champions. It would be a surprise to Uncle Lou if you even made the college football playoff. You're just not a very good team this year. Kelly Bryant, not Deshaun Watson. Zarek Cooper, not Kelly Bryant. Hunter Johnson, y'all won't even play him. That tells me everything I need to know. You better cross your fingers and hold your breath and pray to God that Trevor Lawrence can get you somewhere. Because if not, you're right back to where you were before you had Deshaun Watson, which is losing to South Carolina every single year and patting yourself on the back for winning 9 meaningless games. That's just the reality of the situation. Clemson is nothing more than Auburn with a lake. That's it. I don't understand why you got me going off on Clemson here, but you want to get in the comment section and run your mouth. You get diarrhea of the mouth about Clemson. No one cares. What happened in the Syracuse game? Oh, we lost our quarterback. That's what Clemson tells you. Oh, yeah, well, we lost Syracuse because we lost our quarterback. Same Clemson fan will then turn around and tell you Florida State's no good. And it doesn't matter that they lost their quarterback. They should still be good. They should still be able to beat teams even though they lost their quarterback. Well, what happened to you when you lost your quarterback, Tater? Huh? What happened to you? Mr. Taterhead, what happened? You couldn't beat Syracuse. Syracuse, one of the worst Power 5 teams in America. Syracuse, Missouri, Tennessee, Baylor, Kansas, Rutgers, Syracuse, Kansas, Syracuse, Missouri, Syracuse, Tennessee, Syracuse, Kansas, Baylor, Syracuse. In that order. Clemson is Auburn with a lake. That's it. Dabo Swinney. Look, I used to like Dabo Swinney, and I still respect his coaching ability, but the guy, look, I wouldn't wipe my ass right now with Dabo Swinney. Dabo Swinney cares about one thing, winning, over the health and safety of his own players. People crying because Deshaun Watson tore his ACL at practice yesterday, right, in the NFL for the Texans, tore his ACL out for the year. I wonder if he'd have tore that ACL if Dabo Swinney would have let that man recuperate instead of playing him in a game his freshman year with a torn ACL. Dabo Swinney sent Deshaun Watson into a game to play with a torn ACL as a freshman. When you had a terrible offensive line, you had a Florida State-type offensive line, and Dabo Swinney sent Deshaun Watson into the damn game to run around with a torn ACL. And then what happened up at Syracuse? Huh? What happened up at Syracuse? Your gimp-legged quarterback could hardly stand up, much less run or walk. What does Dabo do? Sit him down and rest him? No. Makes him go out there and play. The guys, look, he can't pass the ball. He's a terrible passer, so he's only in there for one reason, to hand the ball off or to fake hand the ball off and run. That's it. You're sending a running quarterback into the game against a football team that's named after a fruit, Syracuse, and making him run around against Syracuse again with a terrible offensive line. The guy was getting ate up all game. You got him out there hobbling around like this. The guy's like this. He looked like half a retard. He's out there, and it's not his fault. He only had one leg. One of his damn legs didn't even work. Dabo Swinney says, I don't care. We need to win this game. Get in the game, rub some dirt on it. That's what Dabo told him. Got this man out there like this, trying to hike the ball and shit. I had a football out here. I can't find it. They got this man out here hobbling around like this. Hobbling. The man can hardly move. Dabo Swinney says, don't care. Playing the fruit team. Gotta win. Get in the game. They send this man out there, Kelly Bryant, like this. He can't pass the ball, so you know he's got to run it. He's out there. He can barely stand up, much less walk or run. What happens? He tries to escape some pressure, step up in the pocket, but he can't move. He couldn't even outrun that 350-pound lineman. Lineman grabs him, slams him down on top of his egghead, knocks him out cold, concussion, and then he's gone for 2 weeks. Why? All because Dabo Swinney only cares about winning, not to help him save this play. It pissed me off. Have a great day.